Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, the Roaring Twenties, the second swing. Ed Roberts is here from Bozard Ford Lincoln for a segment on remote services. And we have with us none other than Clint Curtis, who's the founder and CEO of ZAPMOTO. Clint and Ed, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Ed, you are the unquestioned leader in remote services, really, no matter how you stack it up. What do you see on the horizon? Here we are now in September, looking out over the balance of the year. This isn't going away. I just see this growing and growing every day exponentially.
Well, our customers have been screaming for decades that they want us to meet them on their terms, and we have failed as an industry to do that. And so we have made it a mission of ours to go out and meet customers on their terms, whether it be with mobile service, whether it's pickup and delivery, whether it's retail sales with remote delivery. And the biggest challenge that all of us come into when people ask me, how do you do it? The biggest challenge is people. And it's being able to time all those things and have the resources that you need to be able to do all those elements. And I think this is perfect timing to have Clint on here because that's where right in his wheelhouse for the stores that are struggling with finding the people to be able to do those things. Maybe they don't have enough of those services to keep somebody busy full time or whatever else. When you have a resource that you can reach out to, I think it makes that door easier to open. So Clint, why don't you tell us about who you are and what do you do? Tell the audience.
Yeah. So love the car business. I've been in the car business for 17 years now, and I love everything about it. I remember when I was going to college and I was selling cell phones part time going to school, and I sold a bunch of phones. The old trios. Do you remember the trios? The Palm Trio.
Palm.
It was before Black. It was like BlackBerry and the Palm Trio. Those were the two cool,
It's
phones.
early, yeah.
Anyways, I sold a bunch of them to a general sales manager at a Mannheim auction, and I found out what he did, and I'm like, yeah, hey, show me that, and he showed me MMR. I remember on my computer screen, and I was done. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be in the car business. So, anyways, came from the car business, but yeah, started ZapMoto going on 3.5, 4 years ago because we saw a need where the dealerships, like just like Ed says, you got to meet the people where they're at, and we were watching DoorDash, Amazon, these other tech companies change customer behavior, and we're like, okay, how can we help in the automotive sector with this? So came across and started understanding the Ford Remote Experience Program, and that we were like, oh, okay, this is where we can start to scale this experience. So what we do is we provide a driver network that will go out and execute pickup and deliveries. We vet drivers. We utilize AI to find them and run them through a battery of background checks and motor vehicle driving record checks and things like that. So they come out the other side as qualified. And then we also dispatch them with AI as well, because we will go out and curate the dealership customer lists, and their appointment lists, and reach out and offer pickup and delivery as well. Because what the hardest part that we feel like the dealerships face is, balancing the fixed cost with the supply and demand of pickup and delivery. So we feel like we offer a solution that's soup to nuts to implement a pickup and delivery program, and then we price it in a way where the dealerships understand it, where we just charge them per trip, based on the mileage and whatnot. So that way they're not, tied to anything, any kind of crazy monthly stipend of, you have to have this many drives no matter what.
Right.
Keeps it super flexible because we want that too.
So if I'm a dealer watching and I'm looking to get into service pickup and delivery, or maybe I've tried to execute it and I need help in doing that, Clint, ZapMoto is where I need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Especially with the Ford program, we understand all the intricacies and all the rules. We have a great relationship with Ford that seems to, get better each month. And so we understand the pain points. We also understand how they validate the trips, and we want to make sure that the dealers get paid and the customer gives a 5 out of 5 on the NPS. Those are our two goals.
Ed, it's important to have somebody in the car business who understands this as your partner on things like service pickup and delivery.
Well, Clint understands that we're challenged with people, and we're challenged with people at all times, and it doesn't matter the market that you're in, we're challenged, and it isn't the best resource of our team to go out and hire these people. They're not they fill voids, unfortunately, in most cases, and so if someone shows up there, they may not go through all the vetting that Clint's going to be able to go through, and so then they hire someone that's maybe not as focused as they need them to be, and the trips take longer, various different things happens, and they just figure, well, we tried that, it didn't work. Well, you haven't found a way for it to work yet. And a lot of times it all does circle back to, did we put the right team in place to be able to do it? And having a resource to reach out to just to take that thing off the plate totally. You know what the expense is going to be. There's no variables in that. It's a huge asset.
It seems to me, Clint, that the manufacturers are really leaning into this every week, every month that goes by. There's another one. I'm sure your phone is ringing off the hook. Ed Roberts, I'm sure you're hearing from them left and right. Clint first, and then Ed. Why do you suppose that is? Why are the OEMs really interested in this remote operation?
Well, yeah, because the most important thing that OEMs care about is providing a good product, and number two is providing an excellent customer experience. Because, you know, they're all looking at Tesla. I mean, it's the elephant in the room, right? I mean, one of my favorite things to bring to everyone's attention is Tesla's got a 1.2, 1.3 trillion dollar market cap. And if you add up every manufacturer, every auto dealership group that's publicly traded, take all that market cap, add it together, you probably get to about $850 billion, you know, which is nuts because Tesla's only got 233 locations in the United States, and they're worth that much. But the reason why is because they own the experience end to end and they own all the data, And so how do you bridge the gap between the relationship and the autonomy of the franchise dealership and the OEM? And I feel like internally they're realizing and the dealerships are the early adopters like Ozark Ford. They understand, that hey, we've got to change and we've got to offer a superior ownership experience to Tesla, or we're going to continue to lose more and more customers. You know, and so the OEM's trying to understand that how do we get the dealerships on board, and the dealerships are like, hey, how do we get the OEMs to help support this? And the future of the program is going to be the customers pay a little bit for the convenience, the dealerships pay a little bit for the convenience, and the OEM has to support it as well. And because this is what everybody wants, and there's 19,000 franchise dealerships across the US. We have a physical footprint advantage that can offer a better ownership experience to customers. And the product is right there with Tesla. It's better than Tesla, you know, but we have to band together. Ed Roberts can't do it alone. It has to be all these dealerships. We all come together and say, okay, with the OEM support, say, hey, this is how we're going to do business now, and this is how we're going to win.
Ed, Clint and I were recently in a dealership together. We were walking through a beautiful customer lounge, and you would say on any other day, 5-star, amazing. Yet we both turned to each other and said, you know what? This is really not the future. The future is really the customer getting to do it on their terms from their home or their work. And that's paid off and resulted in higher ROs, higher percentage dollar amounts. Ed, speak to that in the OEM direction as well.
Well, it doesn't matter how nice we make these places. Our customers don't want to be here. So if they don't want to be here, we need to quit doing things that force them to come here, because then that's what allows Tesla to do what they've done with the 230 something locations. And look at what Carvana's just released in the last quarter, their best quarter ever, and everybody thought they were circling the drain. Well, they still had the vision. They still stayed true to the vision, as we're going to meet customers on their terms. And from a manufacturer standpoint, pickup and delivery, remote services is big for Ford because they realize that they have to advertise to maintain the same market share. Well,
Yeah.
ultimately, we all want to grow that market share. And if they're advertising to maintain, that means they're losing customers. And so they have to do something different. And so they're advertising to pick up and replace the ones that they lose. So they have to do something different to create that loyalty. And that goes back to experience. Everyone loves to have a better experience. That's the elements that we all look for. We can go buy a burger at McDonald's, but we may buy a burger somewhere else because we're sitting down, we got service, it's the experience. It still fills the void. It still does the same job. We just pay more for it. Well, people will pay for experience. But circling back to it from a Ford standpoint, yes, it helps us with brand loyalty. It helps us separate ourselves as a brand. And then we can, as we advertise, we can conquest and stack on and gain market share. But to keep telling ourselves that we want our customers to come into these doors and darken these doors, it doesn't matter how nice we make the place. They don't want to be here. If they don't want to be here, they're not going to be there very long. And if they're not going to be there very long, find ways to go meet them to where they come there when they only when it's time to, not because they have to, and when the desire is different. And mobile, everybody knows that I'm the mobile king out there. We are here at Bozard Ford. But the reality of that is, mobile is not for everyone.
Yeah.
And if you can't do mobile, then pickup delivery is the next best option across the board. And you can be doing pickup and delivery at the flip of a switch. Just pick up the phone or send Clint an email and say, hey, let's work out something. Let's put this together. And now you're creating something that separates yourself from the competitors around you, because they're still thinking that that Taj Mahal they built is the invitation they come in. And it's not necessarily the invitation for a customer to come in.
Yeah, I love the point you make there. It's interesting. I was in so I'm in Salt Lake City, right? And I was I went to eat at a new little restaurant, and it was interesting. I'm super weird, just so you know. Fun fact: I'm really weird,
Are you
and
sure?
and I pay attention to things like design and stuff, and lighting, and I'm weird. Anyways, but it was one thing that was really interesting is that the dining room in this particular, and it was a fast casual restaurant. The dining room was very small. The kitchen was about 3 times the size of the dining room. You could probably only fit maybe 30, 40 people in it, and the kitchen was a lot bigger. And so anyway, so I grabbed the manager because I was interested. I'm like, hey, like, how's business going? Oh, it's great. Da, da, da. And I'm like, why is the kitchen so big? Because it feels like it's a little cramped up here. He says, oh no, it's because we understand that within 3 years, 70 to 80% of our business is going to be delivery via DoorDash or our website, Grubhub, etc. So we designed for capacity to produce more food as opposed to having people eat in. And
It's true.
it's interesting because the dealerships are facing just it's the exact same thing, and the customer just expects this to happen. They want things to be magic and they want things to be on demand. And dealerships can do it. We can totally do it. Ed's a great example of it and kind of was ahead of the curve and saw it. And I do believe, along with Ed, that mobile service, a lot of times it feels like there's a friction point here. We'll talk to dealerships and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, we just want to do mobile. We just want to do mobile. And I'm like, that's great. Why? Well, part of it is because we invested, 120, 140 grand in this van and this other van. We're going to do an escape too. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You want to get a return on your investment. I totally get it. But it's also, there are things that can be done in a shop. They can't be done in somebody's driveway. And they have to work in conjunction, in concert with one another, and they can. They don't have to be at odds. It doesn't. I think that if you do one or the other, you're losing. You need to do both. One of the things that when we're consulting with our dealerships, we say is, hey, you know what? If you've got an F-150, the AC condenser went bad, and they're down in Jacksonville, Florida, or Daytona Beach, and it's hot as hell down there and humid. You got to have that AC working. That probably that has to go in the shop. It can't be a mobile thing, right?
Right.
But then if that car gets signed and sold and delivered out on the road, there should be a mobile appointment already scheduled for that
Mm,
brand new F-150 within 6 weeks,
yes.
even if it's just topping off fluids and checking air pressure, so that someone as a representative of the dealership creating a relationship in the driveway, making sure everything's working right and they don't have any questions. That builds a customer relationship for life. That's something that Tesla's not going to do. They're never going to do that because they want us just to order it all on our phones and never talk to them because they only have 233 locations. and they're probably booked out 2 or 3 months to get that AC condenser
Probably.
looked at.
Clint, do you offer dealers who get into service pickup and delivery? Do you offer them the, for lack of a better term, the software on tracking and analytics and seeing where the vehicles are at? Because that's something a dealer typically doesn't do themselves.
Yeah, we do. We have all of those capabilities built into our software
Wow.
because we want transparency and visibility. And uh, both in mobile and in pickup and delivery, there are variables that are out of our control. Crap happens, right? And so you want to make sure that the dealership has visibility as to what's going on and why, so that they can reset the customer expectation. But AI has been crucial in this as well because the customers will ping us wondering, hey, what's going on? Where's my car? Why is it late? Da, da, da. And the AI is going to respond every single time. And we've curated, we know that there's a lot of different AI companies out there.
Yes.
But one thing that we do though is we give it kind of a double bag. I like to double bag my groceries, because everyone hates that feeling when the milk like breaks through the paper bag and gets all over everything. Anyways, and so our AI kind of serves as a double bag. And if there isn't a response to a question inside the dealership, a lot of times they're going to hit us and ask us a question. And we're going to buy time, route that conversation to the customer as well, because they're getting hot. Every minute that goes by in this on-demand society that they're not getting their question answered, they're going to get hot, and it's going to end up in a bad NPS score, even if it wasn't deserved. So we want to do everything we can to give visibility, transparency to the customer and the dealership, so that they can make adjustments as necessary.
Ed, what are some of the pitfalls, things that happen along the way that you didn't expect? I'm sure there's numerous dozens, if not more of them, but what are some of the things that you might want to call out that having a ZAPMOTO would help iron out?
Man,
He's already erased a lot of this from his memory. You're bringing back, so you're going to give him PTSD.
so we did mobile and we did pick up and deliver before Ford was on it. And so a lot of those things that you don't think about, we say that people don't know what they don't know, and that's exactly right. They don't know what they don't know. Well, you don't know the roadblocks you're going to run into until you run into them. So I can talk about some of the things that we do, but if I can hand that off, if I'd have had a Clint out there 10 years ago when we started doing this, and it would have made that growing curve or those growing pains so much easier, and then we could have rocketed it off. Now, with doing that, we learned a ton, and we learned how to hire people differently. We learned different questions to ask and all the elements that goes along with that. But we had to make it someone's job. Now, that's someone's job to hire people, and it wasn't just for that role, but it was for the dealership. We was able to hire better candidates that come from that. But man, just the obstacles of with insurance. How is this? When is the insurance covered here? When is it covered there? Who covers what? What happens when it's in this person's possession? All those things we had to figure out along the way. And when you can bring someone in that has that, it's man, I can't preach that enough. If the audience can't hear that from me, taking that pressure off of you is huge. And Clint, making an experience happen in itself changes our industry. Make them happen over and over and over again makes an impact. And I appreciate the impact that you're making out there.
So obviously there's the RO spend and the RO lift, right? So what we see across the country is about a 30% higher spend with pickup and delivery versus in store. And we're able to give these analytics to our dealership partners because we tie into the DMS. We've made that investment because we believe this is here for the long haul as well. And this is the future, and this is how things have to be done. The other thing that we see is the higher NPS scores across the board. The people are just delighted when they don't have to come in through the doors of the dealership, obviously. The other unexpected thing too that we saw, I didn't even realize that this was a problem for the dealerships, but you always got some bad apples. People are always trying to get free stuff. And I mean, when you want to talk about PTSD, I mean, we had someone in a state that I will not name that was hitting us up saying, "Hey, ZAPMOTO broke my windshield." Anyways, and it was on a $140,000 Raptor R, and which is fine if it was our fault. But luckily, our drivers are trained and within the driver app to document, like, everything, walk around the vehicle, take the pictures. And so we were able with a timestamp to show, actually, that was already there. You know, I we run into things like that constantly.
Yeah.
And to think of the liability that dealerships face while the customer's vehicle is on their premises. But then on top of that, to do pickup and delivery, I love that we can take that liability off of their plate as well, and they're able to say, hey, we're able to say, if we did it, we'll cover it. That's on us, and give them, some cover as well, because there's customers just they're gonna nickel and dime you to death if they can. It's just the way that the relationship is built. So that's been an unexpected advantage too, that I feel like we bring real value to our dealership partners.
Ed, I'll give you the last word on our segment today.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Clint, because those are some of the obstacles that we talk about all the time. So it's recording it when you pick it up. It's recording it when you drop it off. It's recording the mileage that you drove it there, the mileage that you drove it back. All those elements, when you can tie all those things together, you create that timeline. And those aren't things that you think of coming out of the gate. Having someone with the experience of hitting those things and running those obstacles already is pressure that we don't even know existed, that we never even feel.
Makes all the sense in the world. Clint Curtis, everybody. He's the founder and CEO of ZAPMOTO, works exclusively with automotive retail franchise dealerships. You can find him on the web at zapmoto.com, Clint at zapmoto.com, and great friend of the industry at the
Email
roundtable.
you right.
And
Thank you so much for having me on, Ted. And I love it. It's Ted and Ed.
yes,
Ted and Ed. I think you guys have a show that you can do. Ted and Ed. Sounds like one of those
Ed.
morning radio shows.
I think we may have one coming out soon.
No, I appreciate you guys inviting me on, and really respect both of you and what you're doing for the auto industry, and the standard that you're setting to push this change along, because we got to do it. So thank you so much for giving me a voice and letting me come on.
Super. Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln, thank you. Clint Curtis from ZAPMOTO, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.